Okay, guys. So
okay, should we get going?
Yeah.
Come on. Thank you, Alison. Welcome to all those online, and welcome to a very, very busy packed group. Packed in here. Fill up in a minute. Basic workshop. It's not a basic text workshop, even though we'll have questions out of the basic text. Is there any way we could get a thumbs up, Steve, on the audio if you can hear us okay?
Oh, look at that. Cool.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, my name's Frankie. I'm an addict.
Hi, Frankie.
Okay, we have no preamble. This is all with all the errors and all the mistakes all thrown in, plus a disclaimer. There will be swearing and there will be unmanageability. Also, we'll pick on people. The idea of this workshop is we're going to start off by sharing. I'll share a couple of minutes of my experience of what didn't work and what did work before I got to NA. Paul's going to spend a couple of minutes sharing what didn't work for him and what did work before he got to NA. And then we're going to ask people questions from the room, basically, to allow them to share their experience for 2 minutes. Sorry you guys can't share online because we have no audio here for the rest of the room to hear. So, but we do appreciate your presence, those of you that have been attending regularly. So let's hot potato. Paul, start off. Can you give us 3 minutes, Paul, of why it was so fucking difficult to get here?
Okay, hi everyone. My name's Paul. I'm an addict for whom drugs have become a major problem. Addict seeking recovery today. I don't know, I think we've talked about it before. I've maybe got the record on you because I came to NA for 15 years. 15 years of in and out. It's like it still puzzles me, I'll be honest with you. It still puzzles me as to, because today I think I've got 799 days clean, something like that, just over 2 years. And I wonder if it's, I wonder if I just had to get to that place where I was ready to surrender. Is that the key word, surrender? I mean, but to be honest, the drugs, the obsession use lost me, you know, I lost that pretty quickly. And then what my experience showed me, because I had little bits of clean time before, was that what I had to look at was that we're talking about the external and internal stuff. It's the internal drugs cabinet that the disease has got its hands all over, really. And I'd seen me use and relapse on character defects, self-righteousness, resentment, anger, lust, all those things. I'd had the kind of all the service positions, any t-shirt, conventions, all that stuff, but it didn't kind of, it didn't really hold true for me. I think it was just a lock, stock, barrel job. And, you know, it talks about our, I just had to study the program like my life depended on it this time, because it does, you know, and start to change, start to embrace the idea of change. Not just try and become the person I was before the drugs really kind of, the wheels came off. But I like that line in Step Forward. It talks about uncovering the pure and loving spirit at our core. And that's been my experience of the more I put into this, the more I'm getting out. So, but years and years of meetings, I didn't stay away from meetings as a using addict. I wanted to show you guys how bad I was doing. You know, I'd stand in the Serenity prayer with, you know, track marks up to my neck, blood on my t-shirt, no socks, no laces in my trainers. I was desperate to get it, but I just didn't know how until this time. So still a bit of a puzzle to me, but I think the proof's in the pudding. I do daily step work and speak to my sponsor daily. Yeah. I do everything I can to save my life on a daily basis.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Also, I've had another thought. Because we're online as well, if anyone does have 2 minutes, wants to share, feel free to come and stand up here with us if you would like to. I'll go for 2 minutes. Yeah, I've introduced myself, Frankie. I'm an addict. I went to Wandsworth Prison in 1992. When I got there, a prison officer pointed me. I called him a screw, and he was a Kanga, we knew him as. Told me to go to the NA meeting, I'd get free tobacco. So I went to the NA meeting, I got free tobacco. But that opened the door to me, H&I, I'm grateful for. It's not my area of service, but I'm really grateful to H&I guys, because I met people who had stopped using, which I'd never met before. The problem I had was I met a famous footballer and I couldn't identify or relate to him because I knew nothing of how to identify and relate. He was just a famous footballer with millions in the bank, showing off, sitting in this prison, talking to me who'd lost my wife, had lost my business, had lost all that kind of stuff. I couldn't understand. So for 10 years, I came to NA. For 10 years, I did what I believed was do some service and go get a home group. I did all these different things and it didn't work. It wasn't working for me because I kept relapsing. And my experience of what changed everything in 2003 after 8 treatment centres and going through the step work and having sponsees, what changed for me was to get an understanding of what was actually wrong with me, because that was the major part that was missing for me as an addict. And I saw a meme the other day which really blew my mind, and this was literally the other day. It said, the proportion of your surrender is how much the proportion of your recovery will be. And that's basically it, because in 2003, I lived and breathed recovery. I was, what my sponsor says, I was so sick, I didn't know I was sick. So all I could do is just recovery. I sold my television, it's quite easy. I got rid of everything I had. Woke up to recovery shares. Thankfully, the Americans have been sending over recovery shares on tape, and we'd had some CDs in England. And I went to meetings all the time, hung out with recovery people. And then at 2 years clean, I was impervious to bullets. I was like one of those guys, you could not change me. I was so sold on recovery, you could not change me, but it was a fucking nightmare. I was, because I'd meet a normal person or speak to my mum and I'd start telling them about powerlessness and stuff like that. But I had to go there to get here, so to speak. And last week I celebrated 19 years. And after 28 years, thanks guys, after 28 years, I'm a really grateful, happy member of Narcotics Anonymous with so many gifts, blessings, and so on. Yeah. And I'm still good looking. So what I'd like to say is we've done this in another workshop. I'm going to start this off with a question. This is hot potato. If you've been around some time, we're going to pick on you. So, you know, be prepared to be hot potato. So let's just start off with Sai, shall we? And say to him, in the basic text in step 1, it says, Sai, staying clean has to come first. You'll have to speak up a bit because that's where the point.
So you want to talk now? Do you want to come down?
Yeah, 2 minutes. Come round and have a chat.
Yeah. It's burning. It's burning. It's burning. Staying clean has to come first. So important, you know. This
2 minutes.
So yeah. So this was so important to me from coming to Narcotics Anonymous. You know, I felt like I was. I classify myself as a member in 2012, and I wasn't. I was in complete denial. I had like 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So I'd turn up, I'd show up. I was scripted up. you know, but I had that willingness, you know, and so I kept turning up, showing up to meetings, I'd come into a meeting and share my life and relate this, go out and use. You know what I mean? That's how the denial had me. And I even got a sponsor, so it looked good. I did some step work. I got to step 2. And then when I was writing out about step 2 in the working guide, it made me realise that I wasn't even cleaning that power grater. Was the scripts I was using. You know what I mean? I needed that to even speak to people, to even react, to get into a conversation, to turn up to a meeting, sharing a meeting, you know, to function, even though I wasn't functioning, you know. And it was that bit there. And from then on, it was like, right, maybe I need to get clean here. Maybe I need to get complete abstinence, you know. And that's why, for me, I find it took me a while after then, another year after then, but still coming to meetings, still try to attend. You know, people said, keep going back. I did. I had a drawer full of white key rings, you know, but I kept showing up. And then when I finally got clean, it was so important for me to do that, because then I could work the steps and then I could get connected to a power greater. That power greater wasn't me, you know what I mean? And from that willingness, just turned into open-mindedness, you know, and from that open mind, well, that honesty came actually, you know, because I had that willingness for years. I wanted it. I wanted what other people had, but then again, I liked my will. It was all right. Got me in so much pain and so much anger. Like it was so desperate inside that breaking point came, and that's when the surrender came, and that's where the honesty came, and that's where the open-mindedness came, you know. And from then on, I've stayed clean from then on, and it's worked out all right. So yeah, staying clean has to come first, and from then I can work the steps, and then I'll get an all right life, you know. So that's my story.
Thank you, Si. Thank you.
What I'm going to do is I've got one more question to ask and one more question to pick on. And like any good teacher, I always pick on the kids who are not listening. Nick, do you fancy, from Essex, do you fancy sharing on the topic for 2 minutes of why staying clean has to come first?
Could you come up here though, Nick, and do it? Come on, Nick.
Man, you've got to do this. It's his turn to pick people next.
It's always Steve, you know those guys.
Was it? I'm Nick, I'm an addict.
Hello.
Good to be clean, really, really good to be clean. So, what is it, Frankie, again?
It's what it is. I know Gavin was being busy. Staying clean has to come first. Why? Why for you?
Okay, so I can talk about my relapse really. So I was 8 years clean. I built some sort of life that resembled normal living. I've gone back to college. I trained. I had this really, really wonderful life on the outside, and I shared it in the last meeting with Sandra. What happened was I just disappeared right up my backside. So the arrogance came in, and on reflection of this, what I looked at was, and what I had to accept was, I didn't really have a concept of the disease addiction. I didn't really know what I was suffering with. I talked a good game. I could talk a good step one. I could talk about the disease, etc., etc. But internally, I don't think I truly believed it. Looking back on it, so you know why being clean has to come first is because I just released my addiction all over again. When I picked that first one up, what actually happened for me, I'll talk about it. So I came home from work and I'd been really concentrating on someone else's step one, not my own, somebody else's step one. I came home from work, I walked into a corner shop, I was standing at the till at the corner shop, there's a woman in front of me. I bought a can of Diet Coke. This woman was standing in front of me, and I started to get very, very irritated with this woman. I wanted her out of the way. She moved out, this woman moved out of the way. I said, I'll have a quarter bottle of vodka. I snapped the top of it, drank the vodka. And this is what happened to me. As I drank that vodka, it was like I've been underwater for 8 years, and I sighed this breath of release. It was like, you know, it's a real solution. And the trouble is with that, is it opened that door. It opened that door to the disease again. So I sat for 2 years constantly thinking about using And of course, if we do that, if we start thinking about using, it turns into an obsession. And as soon as I had that obsession, I was using again. So I was just constantly in that sort of like 2 years of thinking about using, and then it turned into obsession and then a compulsion, and then I'd use. And inside, externally, Sandra was talking about externally, everything was quite all right, really. But internally, man, I felt so sick and tired. And I just could not release that obsession. I have to stay clean. You know, my step one is so important now. Looking at the disease of addiction, how it manifests. One problem, many symptoms. And I've come back, and what I've had to do is break them symptoms. You know what I mean? One by one, I've had to really look at them. The main one that I've really had to look at is relationships. Relationships for me are really, really deadly. I've had to relationships. So, thank you.
Thanks, Ned. Thank you very much for sharing. I love this. In step one, it says, we admit our powerlessness and our inability to manage our own lives. When we admit our powerlessness and our inability to manage our own lives, we open the door to recovery. Repeatedly in the basic text, it talks about opening the door. It uses that. Raymond, would you be willing to come up and
2 minutes.
Well, yeah. What do you want? 2 hours? Come on. Give us a few minutes on when we admit our powerlessness and our inability to manage our own lives, we open the door. We open the door to recovery.
Thank you. I'm an addict. My name is Raymond.
Raymond.
All right. 2 minutes for Puerto Rican means different. All right, so you got to contextualize.
It's not 60 seconds.
No, it's not in Puerto Rico. All right. So this is interesting because one of my biggest problems was that I didn't understand the first step for several years. Right. I knew I was powerless of addiction and my life was unmanageable. That's what the first step talks about. But that line is 3 times in the first step. It says when we admit our power and our inability to manage our own lives, we open the door to recovery, right? So unless you do these 2 things, whatever they are, the door to recovery is closed, right? These 2 keys give you access to this door that then opens. I knew that I couldn't use drugs, and I knew that drugs made my life unmanageable. I did not know that I can't manage my own life. You can stay clean and be an idiot and be crazy and be a moron and be the toughest guy in the room and the guy who suffers in silence, or you can pick all the sick relationships or be the most jealous idiot that's around. I know from experience. I'm under my experience. So being able to accept that I cannot manage my own lives opens the door not only to recovery, it says in the last line, to a power greater than myself. In the middle of the first step, it says a second admission must be made. It's like we set this up, like I know what I'm talking about, right? A second admission must be made in order for our foundation to be complete. If we can't manage our own life, if we can't manage our addiction, how can we control our lives? And so I have to accept that being clean, this head right here is going to make decisions that's going to ruin my life. I got an enemy that is inside of me, that I'm not the disease. I have a disease that wants to do evil things, hate on people, fill my ego, build my pride, my bravado. I got a disease that fights for its life. And so it's very important to understand if you really want to experience recovery, because you could be miserably abstinent for a long time. You could be here, we call it in New York, they're sucking on lemons, or you could be here and experience recovery. That's very powerful. So 1, all right, I admit that I'm powerless over the disease of addiction, not drugs. The disease has different. And the second one is Raymond, as wonderful as he is, because I'm wonderful, as handsome as he is, as intelligent as he is, as deep as he is in the literature, as close to God as he is, he cannot manage his own life. If he does, he's going to cry, and everybody that loves him is going to cry.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you, Raymond. Are we going to open that up to someone else? Lionheart, I see you. Do you want to come up and tell us? Maybe just take it. I don't know if we can take it a step further than what Raymond talked about, and just maybe the prescriptive, actual things, just for anyone new, for any of us in here suffering, opening the door to recovery prescriptively. How do we do that in the morning? If we wake up self-centered and antisocial, in denial, in reservation, how do we overcome
Well, first of all, for me, you know, I need to get up, and obviously I need to practice prayer, man. I need to practice some prayer. I need to get into it, and not just practice the prayer, but I need to sit and feel and listen. You know, like listen to my spirit. You know, that spirit inside of me that wants me to be free. Because as Raven just talked about, you know, my spirit, the disease that wants to kill us. You know, I don't just pray and then just get up all of a sudden and get on my day. You know, I need to sit with my feelings and ask my higher power, how best do you want me to serve you today? You know, because this isn't, you know, this spiritual program, you know, as I say, you know, I need to be present in my recovery, and I need to access, you know, I need to access this power that works through me in order so I can be the best version of myself, you know. And yeah, it's some days more than others, you know, like it's not easy, you know, like I said, you know, but I know, say, once I've practiced, you know, that when I've taken the action, I can then go on, you know, to be the best version of myself.
Amazing, Gav. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Good
Paul.
to see you.
Good to see you as well, man.
Keep going.
Keep going, yeah, keep loading it.
Okay.
Okay.
On you go. Over to you. I think you know where you're going.
Okay, do I know where I'm going myself? Okay. We pose this question at every workshop that we've done, and there's always fucking one. There's always one.
Yeah, that happened.
Now, what it is the question is, it's the first question in step one is, can I control my use of any form or mind-altering chemicals? I'll share a quick skip for me. I was working on a flower store in West London. A girl came up to me, had been in NA for 10 years, and she said to me, I don't need to go anymore, and I have a drink at weekends. And me being the Cockney joker that I am, I said to her, you went to NA for fucking 10 years and you're not an addict. And she said to me, don't you fucking say I'm not an addict. Well, the basic text has told me, and my own personal experience has told me, is one is too many. 10 1 thousands never enough, one is too many. So once I heard Nick say it earlier, once I open that stable door and the horse is bolted, I'm fucked, you know, don't call Mike Tyson out for a rat, just don't do it. You know, it's that kind of thing. So has anyone got a different experience from, can I control the use of any mind or mood altering chemicals? Has anyone got experience in controlling before they got the program? Do you like to come up? Anyone? Yeah. Cool, come up. Well, tell them you're nervous. Tell them you're nervous.
Carol Addict.
Hi, Carol.
Hi. Yeah, I sat there thinking, I'll get up and speak, you know, because like the women, we need to bring the women into it.
For sure.
And welcome any women that are listening. Sorry, what was your question?
The question
Control
was,
the
right,
user.
right.
could
okay.
you control or can
Save
you
something for the
control?
morning.
And
Yeah.
did you
right.
ever, was you able to say, that's enough, I'm going home?
Well, you know what? It's funny actually, because every night during, like, I was using against my will for probably 20 odd years. I used for about 30 years. And the best part of that was painful and you know, miserable. But I used to say to myself towards the end, I'd say, you can start again tomorrow, it'd be fine. You don't have to use tomorrow. And I'd be like, you know, drink the last bottle of sherry. Because I was like, you know, it wasn't a specific drug, it was more of whatever there was. Or anyway, and I can remember being at home in the morning, get my next fix, whatever it might be, and I'd be drinking or using against my will, literally crying and using and just going, well, I literally cannot stop, or I literally cannot stop. And I knew I was an addict, but I didn't understand what that actually meant. And now, yeah, I've been in recovery for a little while, and I put myself forward, you know, because I think we need to share experience from lots of different angles. And I was listening to a couple of women sharing in the main hall, and I sat there and I was like, put your hand up. And I always think I'm not enough. I'm not going to say the right things. I don't know enough literature, but you know, I may not be able to quote the big book, the blue book, the basic text. And other literature, but you know, I try my hardest, you know, and just for today, I'm sitting up here and I, you know, I feel sick, but I just come and do it because I know that this is part of my recovery. I came to do service and I haven't actually been called upon, so I thought, you know what, stick your hand up and do a bit of service here today, and I'm going to leave there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next one which we have coming up, we've done this before, is we didn't stumble into this fellowship we didn't stumble into this fellowship brimming with love, honesty, open-minded and willingness. We reached a point where we could no longer continue using because of physical, mental and spiritual pain. When we were beaten, we became willing. I know Param's distracted. Did you catch that? What I just said. Yeah. Would you come up and share your experience? Because I just like catching people who don't appear to be listening, and he was obviously making out, because I know this dude. So would you like me to read it again?
No, I got you.
It's on there.
Yeah. So my name's Param, I'm an addict.
Hey, Param.
Frankie, thanks for calling me.
Thank you.
I love you dearly. It's always good to see you. Yeah, I wasn't brimming with much besides anger and rage when I got to this fellowship. I was pissed off because I couldn't use anymore. I was even more angry because I hadn't used anything, and that was what brought my temperature down most of the time. Honesty, I didn't even tell anyone my name for 6 months. I came in with an alias. I didn't understand what honesty was. I didn't think anyone in the room was being honest. Love. I think I had lost the ability to love. The area I came from was maybe a mile from my first meeting. I got clean in Harrow and I used in Wembley, and they must have been, I left work that day, looked up where the meeting was, and if I had turned right, I would have ended up where I used, in the park, and if I'd gone left, I went up the hill to the hospital where the meeting was at. And I had definitely reached that point where I knew I couldn't do it anymore. 2 nights before, I'd gone out and used, and I'd reached a point where I didn't want to use anymore. I said I wasn't going to use anymore. I'd made a decision not to use anymore. And when it came out, I used again. And that was my point of being beaten. And my willingness came that night. And the next morning, there was a little bit left in my pocket. So I used that because I wasn't going to throw it away. Awful. And then Monday, I was withdrawing. I was in pain. I was angry. And physical, mental, and spiritual pain. Yeah. It was very real, that moment. And I made the right decision, probably for the first time in many, many years. And I've touched on it.
Great.
I stumbled up the hill rather than rolling down the hill that time. So thank you for calling me.
That's no worries. Thank you.
Nice,
See, while I'm sitting there, Param, my main thing is thinking, if I'm going to ask the same question twice, I have to go really diverse. And I can see is Sandra. You've got to come up because you look to be, to start off with, you're not from the same continent. No, you don't seem to come from the same creed background, and you're a female. Do you think you can do 3 minutes on this topic? Would you like me to read that out to you?
No, that's fine. Hi, I'm an addict. My name is Sandra.
Nice.
Hi. Yeah, but diversity is our strength. So I didn't stumble into the fellowship very much, right? I was in treatment, and my nickname was the world's angriest woman. I didn't smile. I cursed a lot. You know, totally opposite of who I am today. I try not to use profanity, and I smile a lot, because sometimes people have told me that I could be a little bit that sometimes they feel like I'm not approachable. I don't want people to feel like that with me, Sometimes I'm just saying, but anyway, yeah. So I didn't come in here with love, honesty. No, I remember my first meeting, and I shared earlier in the workshop earlier that I came in here a using addict, and they told me keep coming back. They didn't throw me out, and I was very dishonest. I used in the bathroom in the Narcotics Anonymous meeting. So like honesty, like I didn't know how to be honest. I didn't know what honest was. Open-mindedness, no, I thought I knew it all. You can't tell me anything. I didn't know anything, but I thought I still didn't think you could tell me anything, and willingness, I had no willingness. He said we reached a point where we could no longer continue using because of physical, mental, and spiritual pain. I think that what brought me to the rules of Narcotics Anonymous is that using got hard. Using got hard. All my enablers stopped enabling me, which was probably the best thing they could have done for me. They didn't even know how good that was for me. Because I manipulated my dad all the time. I need $10, I need $20, I need to go, I needed for the day to go eat. I didn't eat. I didn't use a penny of it to eat. Today, food is very important to me. I like food, spiritual pain, I was in spiritual confusion. Like I didn't know what the spirit, what spirituality was, spiritual principles of honesty, open-mindedness, willingness, integrity, perseverance, humility. Like I didn't know none of those words when I got here. Like I knew nothing. I knew nothing about living life, nothing. So, I was beaten, and then I became willing. I mean, it's pretty like self-explanatory. When using got hard, I say, you know what, something's got to change. Thanks.
Thank you. How do you fancy coming up, Adrian? Got a quick question here for you. Adrian's doing service at the convention, because this has sort of turned into electric chair stroke hot potato meeting. We're going to ask him, how you doing? You got 2 minutes. We're not responsible for our disease, but we are responsible for our recovery. Do you want to tell us how you're responsible for your recovery?
I'm responsible for my recovery. My name's Adrian, I'm an addict. I'd just like to add another bit on.
Yeah,
we're accountable for our actions as well in our disease. When I got in, I ended up in prison for doing some stuff that if people in prison had found out, I could have been in quite a bit of trouble. Could have got really hurt. But I'm responsible for my recovery by going to meetings, doing the 4 suggested things, obviously, but taking care of myself. I get up in the morning, I pray, meditate, then I take that time for myself, just to center myself. And then I go on with my day every day. I'm also responsible for my recovery. I have to be flexible, because shit happens. If I'm too rigid in what I do, like if I don't do this, if I don't do that, if I don't do that every day, things turn to shit. Well, if I'm that rigid in my recovery, I start beating myself up. I've been told, if I've been told once to put a stick down, I've been told 1,000 times. I'm a nightmare for beating myself up. And last year I couldn't get a day clean, and I was just broken, and I was just desperate, and I couldn't get a dry out, so I bought a tent, came back here. I spent the first week in a tent. That's how I was responsible for my recovery then, because although it may have sounded insane, it's probably the sanest thing I did the whole of last year. And I need to be honest with myself. I have to not care what other people think about me, not care, and actually, I'm coming to learn that what the people that don't matter think or say about me or to me doesn't matter. And because nearly 3 months ago, that sent me out of relapse, and I spent some more time in my tent in a graveyard. So yeah, I'm responsible for my recovery. I nobody's going to do it for me. I have to do it myself, and just listening to my gut, because that is where my higher power talks to me. If it feels wrong, if my gut's telling me not to do it or it's bothering me, I have to listen to that. Otherwise, it doesn't take long for my life to turn to shit. Is that enough?
Fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just after experience, guys. Paul was giving me some hand signals, but not in the same game.
No, because South Wales is in the house. We haven't heard from, Alex yet.
You kind of take the same question, Alex?
I think any question.
Any question you like.
I'm just thinking, Alex, if our programme is a set of principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives, I'd just like to hear some prescriptive stuff on how you use that programme to talk about the stuff Adrian was talking about, taking responsibility and living in the solution.
Keep it simple, Paul.
That is simple. Set
That's the first
principles
one.
written so
I'm
simply.
Anonymity. My name's Alex. Hello
Hi,
there. Hello.
Alex.
This is a real person. We're on the beach. Great.
Background.
First thing is keeping it simple. Do you know, for me, the principle, the first thing we start with is honesty, open-minded, and willingness. With these, we are well on our way. Do you know, people have been talking about it all day. Honesty can start with just turning up in a meeting and saying my name, because I used to use different names. So for me, using my name is honesty. I've taken the first step in honesty. Open-mindedness, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to let Paul fire the question at me, and I'm going to do it, which is also willingness. This is the stuff I have to do today. I have to go against myself. I have to go against my disease. My disease wants me in a box, end of sports. My disease likes it easier, soft away. That's what my disease is. The principles I have to work go against all that. Everything everybody said today, I will look at it and look at the opposite way of doing it. Do you know? Why do I stay clean? Because using is not an option, because using didn't work. That's why I'm clean, because I don't have an option. Do you know? To paraphrase our American friends, work the steps or die, motherfucker. You know, that's not really a spiritual principle, but it's a principle. You know, I don't have the option. We were talking about being battered into submission, white flag of surrender. It's another principle I have to apply. I don't really have a choice in this game. That's my basic principle. How do I work them? I listen to you guys and girls. Do you know? This isn't about Alex. This is about program Narcotics Anonymous. And we have a program on Narcotics Anonymous in the group there in the Zoom, and we've got a living program on Narcotics Anonymous sitting in front of me. That's how I work it. The minute I walk down that pier, I think I don't want anything to do with it. I'm not working it anymore. Do you know? I work it because my arse is in the seat. I don't want to complicate this stuff, and I'm not all my time's up. My arse is in the seat. That's my spiritual principle today. My spiritual principle today is I get in my car, I drove to Weston, I come to a convention because I want to be around addicts. That was a principle for me today. It's not complicated, people. You don't have to get mentally deeply into it. Simple stuff. Keep it simple, like I said. Can I escape now? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Alex. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it was just something that I'd remembered, and I just wanted to share this in case some people haven't heard it. When we started getting the Iranians first coming over to Narcotics Anonymous here in the UK, because we seem to be one of the first ports of call, we had some guys come over and they didn't have any NA literature, and they had some converted. And in some of the early meetings there, this guy told me the story. It might not be true, but it's still a story. Okay, and don't let any lies stand in the way of a good story, yeah? what they did when they converted the basic text, as it says in that reading that we had, it says, when we were beaten, we became willing. So what they were doing was they were getting 3 or 4 different guys who had a bit of time, and they was getting a newcomer, and they was taking him out to the desert and giving him a good kicking. Okay, and it wasn't until some guys went over and explained to them, no, we don't actually beat people in Narcotics Anonymous. It's about when they come to a place of surrendering. So, and they was like, oh shit, no. But the thing what actually came out of this was there was about 11 guys who actually got clean and stayed clean, you know, from being beaten, terrified that they'd get another kick in. So I just thought I'd throw that one in. I'm gonna hand you back over to Paul. 4x2.
Thanks, Frankie. Do you know what I'm quite interested in, and maybe the guys at the back might be able to help us, because Alex just touched on anonymity. I'm really kind of thinking a lot recently about tradition 12. Oh yeah, Gavin, isn't it?
We've got Gavin and Martin still to pick on, and they got more. Somebody
introduced the concept to me the other day of Narcotics Anonymous being a journey between narcotics and anonymity. And what's the 12th tradition underlies the foundation of all our
principles is
traditions. Yeah. What's that? Yeah. Anonymity. So how important is anonymity, Gavin? You can come up and talk about your experience with anonymity.
Oh, that's a good topic for Gavin.
I'd really, you know, because we're all addicts. Is it we're all addicts of equal status? The newcomer is the most important. Just this idea of anonymity seems to be so crucial to our programme.
I sat there for 15 minutes for the self-obsessed, answering questions you hadn't asked me. I don't know if anyone else done that.
Of course.
And then you give me that one, which is nice and simple. Why is that? What was the question? Why is anonymity so important? Yeah. I mean, anonymity means, you know, equality. And that's what our literature says. So when I think about anonymity, so I don't say I'm an old timer, but so I've got nearly 18 years. But with anonymity, if I start thinking I'm different to the newcomer and not on the same level, I start putting myself above other people in Narcotics Anonymous. I start thinking I'm better than everyone. Then I start not listening to everyone. Then I don't listen to the newcomer. Then I start thinking, oh, I'm only going to listen to someone who's got double figures. But I've sat in meetings and I've heard some gems come out using addicts, man. So when I sit in the meeting, I listen to everyone. I sat in the meeting once and the fellow was using, and he sat there and people was talking about, you know, eating queen cakes and this and that and he was flat out, and he got a bit angry, and he said, trainers, he said, miles have fallen off my feet. He said, but you know, I've never in my life thought I'm not going to buy the trainers, not going to buy the trainers, not going to buy the trainers, and you know, and still bought this. No, so he said, but I've sat there, not want to use, and I've used. And I thought, hitting the nail on the head. And then this is Narcotics Anonymous, and they were talking about everything else. And that newcomer gave me something that day. So we're all equal in here. There ain't no one's better than anyone else. No one's special. We're just a load of junkies trying to get a day clean. I don't care how clean you are, but you're still at the same level. So when they talk about sponsorship lines, they don't go up. They go that way, horizontal, because it's anonymity, because we're all equal. All right. So I don't mind like sponsorship gatherings and stuff like that. But my sponsorship line goes like that. Just because my sponsor might be here, but he ain't up there. Anonymity says we're all there. So as soon as we start going up and down, we go up, we're looking down. And then at the bottom of that so-called list is the newcomer. And we shouldn't look down at newcomers. We should be looking at a newcomer in our eyes, level, to make them feel welcome. Because the newcomer picks up on stuff. Yeah. If the newcomer picks up that we think we're better than him because we've got clean time, he don't come back. And that's our fault. We have to take, we have to take some responsibility in that. You know, so yeah, anonymity is really important. It's to make the newcomer feel welcome, to make him feel that we are equal. And how do we do that? We reach out to him. I don't sit in meetings. Not like you get not like them lemon people you said it. Maybe you said it. No, when a newcomer who's flat out using it, I don't share back to him and say, "Oh, thank you for reminding me where I come from." I hate that when the newcomers come in. Get up, give him your number, reach out to him, and take him to something to eat. Don't thank him for reminding me how grateful I am. So yeah, but it's so important that we make the newcomer feel equal, and we don't make him feel that we think we're better than him. We're just a load of addicts, man, and it goes like that. So that's
amazing. That's great. Great to see you. What we're doing mock potato with the guys in the room. So Gavin was just talking about anonymity and how we where our egos are so large and dominant as self-centered addicts. How do we strive to keep the principle of anonymity? Come up here and give us 2 minutes on the importance of anonymity. 3 minutes, sorry, John. John from Birkenhead, thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's John. I'm an addict. I didn't expect this. Anonymity.
Honestly, I didn't stick him up.
Sorry, all right. Anonymity, it's priceless for me. I love it. It's great. Because what I've done when I first come to NA, see, I didn't pay for my recovery. I didn't get piss tested. I walked into the rooms of NA, totally anonymous, head undercover, under the radar. Didn't say a fucking word. Didn't want a key ring, stick them in your ass. Didn't want fuck all. Nothing at all. The anonymity, it was equality. And what I've done, I come walking into NA, and for the first time in my life, I found an organisation where you can walk in off the street. I was using that smackhead for 26 years. I've been introduced to NA through organisations. It just wasn't spiritual, didn't get it. Walked into a spiritual organisation and loved it, absolutely loved it. Keep me head down in here. I can come in and introduce myself as fucking Eduardo. It gives a fuck. And I come to NA and I got myself clean. I got myself off heroin after 26 years and I went under the radar. Totally under the radar. You won't see me on Facebook. You don't see me posing, bragging. I'm not a braggart. I love anonymity because what it does, I work on a building site. And what we talk about in here doesn't apply out there. This isn't the real world. It's not mine. And I don't live in here. I work on a building site and it's fucking on top because you've got a whole new generation of addicts come along. You've got the cokeheads and they hate the smackheads. Everyone hates the fucking smackheads. The fucking alcoholics on there hate smackheads. Every fucking, and we're the excuse. We're the cover story for the cokeheads. Fucking wasn't me, it was a smackhead. So that's the real world I live in. Not the fucking treatment centre la world where it's all the same. And you know what I mean? And that's what I've done. I went out and I've gone and immersed myself back into life undercover. Totally undercover.
Can I, because I know something that you talked about, which I think would be really powerful, share the, you getting clean in Birkenhead and the meeting that you set up on your, can you give us a couple of minutes on that one?
Okay. When I got clean in Birkenhead and there was no NA. There wasn't anyone clean. There was people who cleaned up, but there was no one with years clean time. There was no one done the NA steps. There was no message out there. So I come to NA and I was going to meetings in Birkenhead. And I was sitting in the meeting and people were drinking in the meetings and smoking weed in the meetings going on. So we're doing step 8 tonight. Do you want a can of lager? Sound? Yeah, go on. I was using heroin. I remember one lad skinning up and I'm holding a split for him. Listening to fucking Concept 485 or something. And I rolled the split for him, going, yeah, lad. And that was the meeting. And this girl come in the meeting, she said, so what the fuck are you doing in here with these? She said, how the fuck are you doing this? She said, I'll give you a heads up. She said, follow the program, it won't let you down. She said, immerse yourself in the literature. Everything you need to know about NA is in the cards, it's in the readings. And that's what I had to do. And then in the middle of it, because there was no meetings where I lived. I started a meeting up on the estate where I live. I'd grown up there. I cleaned up on it. I cleaned up in the house I done all my using in, with the people I done all my using with. And I started a meeting up in this house I used to smoke crack in. It was a block of flats, 2-story flats, and I used to hit coke up in there and heroin. I used to use in this flat. In the flat next door, I used to sell crack from. And I started this meeting up in there. They had this little room upstairs, the meeting, it was called the Powerhouse. Fucking sign from God and all that, you know, you first get clean. It's this, the meaning behind it and what have you. And I just started this meeting up on my own. And I went knocking on my mates' doors, went banging on the doors with the mates. All my mates have been on methadone for 20, 30 years, all fucking yellow. And we started this meeting up and I started banging on people's doors and saying, come and get on this. Fucking get on this. It's the bollocks. And the meetings, people started, my mates started turning up. And like 4 or 5 of us in there, and it was like a Michael Jackson video, Thriller. You know, with all the skagheads with one tooth and all fucking sitting there, yellow, with hepatitis and fucking what else did they had. And the meeting got rolling. And it got rolling. And it went and it was kicking off and people, as they do, people come and go, people were dying. But we kept the meeting going, I kept turning up and I kept turning up. And people started coming in. People started walking off the streets of Birkenhead, off the estate where I lived and cleaned up. I was sitting there going, fucking hell, it does actually work, this. You know what I mean? Thinking it was a blag. And then people come in and got clean. They fucking cleaned up in the meeting.
Thanks, John. That's amazing. I just thought, sorry, I took things off. John took it off on a different tangent there, but I haven't seen him for so long. That was great. Frankie, go and come up and do it. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're just going to say just one more. We're just going to say just one more. Martin, would you like to come out and share?
Come on, Martin. Come in here.
You've got 2 questions if you want. You can either have, if we can't control our addiction, how can we control our lives? But I was thinking social acceptability does not equal recovery.
I'll take that one. Hi, everybody. My name's Martin. I'm an addict. I do have personal experience of that, actually. I was really desperate when I first kind of found NA and I immersed myself in it and I kind of done all this stuff. And then as a result of that, you know, I started my own business. I had people working for me. I've got a flat and all that kind of responsibility stuff, just, you know, in abundance. And I'm a plasterer by trade, and I was working in a treatment centre, you know, and I had all the answers to all the questions, you know, and but it was like suddenly that became my recovery. Do you know what I mean? What I was projecting on the outside was, but inside, I stopped going to meetings because I was too busy. I stopped reaching out to my sponsor because I was too busy. And we talk about that internal unmanageability in step 1, you know. I have to practice a program to keep that at bay. I don't know about anybody else, but that's, you know, that has to be forefront of my daily stuff is to keep it. Because I wasn't doing that, you know. I said I had all the outside gear, everything in abundance, and but that inside stuff was just rotten. It was rotten, and yeah. So yeah, I was about 3.5 years clean, and it was closest. I mean, I'm 16 years now, but that was the closest I've been to using in the whole of. You know, I had it set up. You know, I started collecting £50 notes. You know, I was Keiko, and I had a sock full of £50 notes underneath my bed, and I was like, right, I'm off. I'm going to go and use. And
We talk about, you know, higher power experience. You know, I ended up at the door of my sponsor's house at like 7:30 in the morning, and to this day I can't explain why, but that's how I ended up, and I didn't use that day. But so yeah, my experience of social exit doesn't equal recovery is exactly that. You know, just that outside stuff don't mean nothing. Do you know what I mean? Don't mean nothing. If I ain't got it in here, I ain't got it to give. And that's kind of, I've been reading that, I've read that about 20 times since I've said that. You know, and that's why we're here. Do you know what I mean? That's why we're here. It's you know, it's about, this whole program's about giving back. Do you know what I mean? It's about coming in, and so if I haven't, you know, I need to do it to give it, to carry the message. I'm gonna leave it there.
Thanks, Martin. I was trying to point out that I haven't had a representative from my area, so I stuck it on Sue. Because Sue's from Bath, and she said, no, not me. And the question is, the last share of the day, guys, is we become willing to do whatever is necessary to stay clean, even the things we don't like. Sue, can you come up and give us 2 minutes, please? I just thought that was fitting. It was fitting. Look, we become willing to do whatever is necessary to stay clean, even things we don't like.
Yeah, well, I'm sharing in a minute, so I was kind of like in my stuff. So yeah, okay, the things that become willing. Yeah, I did become willing, and I became willing because when I came into, just before I came into these rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, I was, you know, I had like, I don't know, probably at least 35 years of using. You know, I had 2 partners that had died from this disease. You know, 3 kids that I dragged through my addiction. You know, and I ended up beaten. You know, broken. You know, on kind of every level. And you know, I thought I'd tried all them other ways. You know, I've done all the ways and means to get more, but I hadn't done all the ways and means to try and get clean. And so on that hospital bed, you know, I'm led there with, you know, they got the jump starters next to the bed, you know, and you know, 2 of my kids had flown over because, you know, it was touch and go. And I knew then, without a shadow of a doubt, I needed to find some willingness to stop doing what I was doing, really. And that's what I did. I kind of got my ass back to Bath, got to some meetings, Narcotics Anonymous meetings. And, you know, and here I am, still trying to put one foot in front of the other, still, you know, I can't, if I need to be honest, and I'm not always willing to do every single thing. Do you know what I mean? I can still sit at home and think, I'll do a meeting online rather than go to face to face. I can, do you know what I mean? I can procrastinate. I can look for that easy route at times, but you know, on the whole, I show up for myself. Do you know what I mean? And and I'm recovering. I'm grateful to be doing so.
Lovely to see you. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of the meeting time, basically. Generally, we finish by reading the Just for Today. Who had the Just for Today? Of course it is.
I say.
Tell yourself my thoughts about my recovery, living and enjoying life without use of drugs. Just for today, I will have faith in someone in an air who believes in me and wants to help me in my recovery. Just for today, I will have a program. I will try to follow it to the best of my ability. Just for today, through NA, I will try to get a better perspective on my life. Just for today, I will be unafraid. My thoughts will build my new associations. People I'm not using have found a new way of life. As long as I follow that way,
I will never drink beer. Thank you. And you, Paul?
That's it. Just like to thank everyone for coming. Thanks everyone for your input. It's been a great meeting. And thank you to those of you online It's been great to see
Thank
you
you, Paul. Thank you.
guys.
Any more of those statements?